Okay, so yesterday we started with Agile. Okay, so we started with Agile. We discussed what is Agile, understanding that Agile is a mindset, and it's up you for you to say you're Agile. You have to uphold the 4 core values and be guided by the 12 principles. And you can manifest them through several practices. Okay. We also discussed the history of Agile. We talk about Agile values. We talk about Agile principles. We talked about Agile being Agile expansion into other areas, even though Agile started from software, is now being used in different areas of the business. We also talk about why Agile. Why do we do Agile, right? We also have an idea and understanding that why it's better to keep planning than to have a plan, right? It's better to keep planning than have a plan. Okay. Difference between Scrum and Agile. We also discussed that yesterday, that Agile is like the umbrella. Scrum is just a methodology to show that you're doing Agile. Okay. We also talked about some of the framework that can be used at the enterprise level to show that you're being Agile or you're doing Agile. We talked about the most used Agile methodologies, and we said Scrum is the most used one. And we discussed the other ones in terms of they say an element of Scrum in most of the other methodologies. Like, so even if you get to an organization and they're not using Scrum, you're still going to have an idea of the methodology they are using because there'll be an element of Scrum there. And the reason why we are deep diving into Scrum. We talk about the Agile umbrella, and the most popular one is Scrum and Kanban, right? We talked about Scrum, right? How Scrum started, and is one of the ways of implementing Agile, where the word was borrowed from the rugby game. How is different from playing a relay game, right? We also talk about Kanban, right? It's also one way of implementing Agile. We know Kanban is one of the lean management and lean method as well. And we discussed the difference between Scrum and Kanban. That was where we stopped yesterday, you know. And today we want to go straight into Scrum. Okay, any questions before I start? Okay, so I'll start. What is Scrum? So I'm going to read this. This is from the Scrum guide. I'm going to give you the Scrum guide after this class. You can also download the Scrum guide from scrum.org. Okay. Scrum is a framework within which people can address complex adaptive problems while productively and creatively delivering products of the highest possible value. So that's the way Scrum guide has defined Scrum. I'm going to try and break it down so that it's going to be easy for us. We'll understand what Scrum is, right? So Scrum was co-created by Jeff Sunderland and Ken Schwaber. We mentioned that yesterday, right? They are both of them, they wrote the Scrum guide and they keep updating it over time. So they update it, I think every 2 years or 3 years, they keep updating. There's one that came out in 2020, the updated version. But over time, another one will come out, but it's just going to be a better version of what we have already, right? So now, what is Scrum? How will you define Scrum? So Scrum, how I would define Scrum is lightweight. Remember when I talk about those 17 thought leaders coming together? to have a workshop to talk about their frustration, and they came up with the Agile Alliance. They wanted something lightweight, something not too heavy, something easy, something fast, right? So Scrum is lightweight. Scrum aligns with that Agile values and principles. So Scrum is lightweight. Scrum is simple to understand. By the time I explain it, you see that it's very simple to understand. Even though it is simple to understand, it is very difficult to master. Very difficult to master, right? And I will also tell you why it is difficult to master, right? Scrum is founded on empirical process control theory, or empiricism, right? Scrum framework consists of roles, events, and artifacts. So what is Scrum, right? Scrum is just a process framework. It's just a process framework, right? Is not a complete process for building a product. Because you're using Scrum process doesn't mean that you have a complete process for building your product, right? But it's a framework you can use to show that you are practicing Agile, right? So when you say you're doing Scrum, you have to follow all the rules that Scrum Guide has put in place, right? If you're not doing that, that means you're just using an element of Scrum, right? So Scrum in itself, right, is not complete, right? Is intentionally incomplete, right? Because it does not specify all the steps that you require to build a product, right? But it describes the framework within which a variety of process and techniques can be deployed, right? That's the way the guide is written, right? It's just like PMP, right? The PMBOK, right? The PMBOK is a guide. It doesn't mean that the PMBOK it doesn't describe the step-by-step of what you need to actually implement a project, right? To actually manage a project, right? But it gives you a guide, a framework in which that there are a variety of process in it and techniques that can be deployed. The same thing with Babok. Babok is just a guide, right? It does not give you the full steps that you require to build a product, to work as a business analyst. But it gives you a guide, a framework, processes and techniques you can use working as a business analyst to build a product. So when people do business analysis, they are doing it because they are trying to understand the different processes that are available, the different techniques they can use, right? So the same thing with Scrum, right? It's just a framework, right? That you can deploy while trying to work in a team. The processes you can deploy, right? Intentionally is not complete, right? So, but you need to understand it that if you're using Scrum, you have to follow that core component of Scrum, right? There are some rules that they've described, the relationship and interaction between those components. You have to follow it. Then we can say you're doing Scrum. Okay, so when you talk about the Scrum framework, it consists of the Scrum teams. We're going to talk about the Scrum teams and their associated roles. So what are the Scrum teams, right? We have the product owner. Who are in the Scrum team, right? We have the product owner, we have the Scrum masters, and we have the people we call developers, right? Those developers doesn't mean that they are front-end or back-end coders, right? They are developers in terms of everybody working on the Scrum team that is not a Scrum master, that is not a product owner, are called developers. Even though you have a business analysis skill, when you're on the Scrum team, you are called a developer, but people know that you have that business analysis skill. People know that you have that quality assurance skill, right? So, but everyone is called a developer, right? In some organization, you might be recognized by your skills, right? And when they give you the job, they can call you a business analyst. But in the Scrum team, everybody is recognized as developers. That's the way Scrum Guide has described it. Okay. Now, the Scrum framework consists of that Scrum team. It consists of events. The event that the Scrum Guide has documented is sprint planning. We have something we call sprint planning. I will explain it. We have something we call daily Scrum. We have something we call sprint review, and we have something we call sprint retrospective, right? So those are the events. We call them ceremonies. So when you get to your organization and you're hearing, oh, our Scrum ceremonies are, they're talking about the sprint planning, daily Scrum, sprint review, and sprint retrospective. And the Scrum Guide also consists of artifacts. There are 3 artifacts. We have the product backlog, the sprint backlog, and the product increment. Those are what the Scrum framework is all about. That is all. The Scrum framework consists of Scrum teams, events, and the artifacts, right? Now, anything not described by those components or rules is not part of the framework, right? So the Scrum team decide on the process and techniques they want to use within their team, right? So you need to understand that, right? Now, there's something about Scrum. You know, I said Scrum is easy, right? It's lightweight, it's simple to understand. That is Scrum. All the thing I described for you right now is Scrum. Scrum team, Scrum events, and the Scrum artifacts. For Scrum team, you have the product owner, the Scrum master, and the developers. For the events, or you call them ceremonies, sprint planning, daily Scrum, sprint retrospective, sprint review. That's it. Then the artifact, there are 3: product backlog, sprint backlog, and increments. Those are what Scrum is. Now, but the truth is that most time, right, it is like a spectrum, right? So when you are trying to solve a problem, and the problem is simple, is easily predictable, right? It is unchanging, right? It's easy. At that point in time, it is easy. You can say it's easy, right? But when you have a problem that is unpredictable, it is adaptive. You need to adapt quickly, like it is always changing. Then you have a problem, right? Because when it's easy, you can predict it. But when it's not easy, you can't predict it, right? And that's why Scrum say that Scrum is founded on an empirical process control theory, right? Because it is that process that helps you to deal with those unpredictable problems. I will explain what empirical process control theory means, right? So that unpredictable path is why they said that Scrum is founded on empirical process control, right? So, because when you are dealing with problems that are predictable, it's easy. When it is unpredictable, there is a problem, right? But you can use Scrum, right, to help you unlock those problems, right? So now let's look at it. Look at when you are dealing with a complex situation, unpredictable situation, and that is what the Scrum Guide is describing here. Scrum is a framework within which people can address complex adaptive problems, something that is complex but is adaptive. That means it keeps changing, right? While productively and creatively delivering products, right? So we are thinking of a problem that is unpredictable, that is complex. And for you to be able to do that, right, you have to use something we call the empirical process control theory. Now, this is the empirical process control theory. So Scrum is based on this empirical process control theory. So what is it, right? So I want to talk about, there's a book, right? The book was called the Modeling and Control. It's written by Babatunde Ogunaike and Ray. So what the book was explaining, let me just read it from my book for you. It says, it is typical to adopt the defined approach when the underlying mechanism by which a process operates are reasonably well understood, right? When the process is too complicated for the defined approach, the empirical approach is the appropriate choice. Let me explain what that paragraph is saying. It's saying that Babatunde Ogunaike and Ray are saying that when you define an approach to solve a problem, when a process when you have a process, and you understand that process, is not complicated. That process is not complicated. It's easier for everyone to understand, right? But when the process is too complicated for a defined approach, you have to use an empirical approach, right? Now, what they are telling us is that if that defined approach doesn't work well with a complex situation, use empirical process. So what does empirical process actually mean, right? So empirical process means that is a process that is based on observation, right? So it means that a process that is based on observation and evidence, that is empirical process control. So empirism is the central idea behind the scientific method. So what they are just saying is that Scrum is based on this empirical process control, right? So it's based on empiricism, right? Which means that something that knowledge that comes from experience and observation, right? You are making decisions based on experience and observation. By the time we go deep, you will understand this very well, right? Something that comes from experience and observation, you are now making decision on it, right? They say daily Scrum. Why are we doing daily Scrum? You want to observe what is happening. You want to see what is happening so that you can make decision. Your team member will tell you, oh, there is a problem. There is an impediment. I need to get this API sorted out with the API team. Oh, really? Okay, let's solve it, right? So you are making a decision either to say this story should be blocked, or you should flag that story, or we cannot finish that story within that sprint, right? Because you are basing it, Scrum is based on empirism, and that is why that is how the framework is defined, right? So you are basing it on experience and observation. That's what you're using to make your decision. So now, Scrum is saying in order for you to make good observations, right? In order for you to make good observation, your empirical process must have these three pillars. So you understand now, we are dealing with complex situations, complex problems, something that is adaptive, but is complex and unpredictable. And they're saying that for you to do that, you have to base it on empiricism, right? So that is what Scrum is based on, right? So empiricism is you asserting knowledge that comes from experience and making decisions based on what you have observed. And they're saying that for you to make good observation, you have to put these three pillars as your empirical process, which is transparency, inspection, and adaptation, right? So if you are able to put these three things, this empirical process, these three pillars in your process, right, then it is easier for you to make good observation. Then you can make decisions from those observations, right? And now this is the significant aspect of Scrum, right? This is how they are designed so that they can provide transparency, inspection, and adaptation, right? So every time you hear people say, why are we meeting every day? We are meeting every day because Scrum is based on that empirical process. So when your team is asking you, you're telling them that Scrum is based on empirical process control, right? And for you to say that, it means that it is based on three pillars, which is transparency, inspection, and adaptation. We are meeting every day because we want to inspect the work we're doing, right? We want to be transparent to everyone on the team, right? And we want to quickly adapt in case there is a problem. How can we adapt? How can we make our work better? How can we remove that impediment, right? So that is why we are meeting every day, because your team they will ask you questions, right? So to create those transparency, the Scrum events and artifacts are visible, right, to all those responsible for their outcome. Okay, so that is just what Scrum is about. So remember, Scrum is based on empirical process control to help solve complex and adaptive problems. Now, for you to work in a Scrum team as well, you need to uphold the Scrum values. These Scrum values, they are aligned with the Agile values as well. So for you to say you're working in a Scrum team, Scrum Masters, please listen. every time you need to tell your team that they need to uphold the Scrum values, right? Every time you need to let them know. You can craft something that your team will work with and say, I will show you some of the things we use as well. I will show you that when we get to simulation. Like, the Scrum values must be embedded in your team, right? So what are the Scrum values, right? The first one is courage. Scrum team members have courage to do the right thing and work on tough problems, right? So just look at it like that. The component of the framework, like the brain of Scrum, is the Scrum values, right? So even though you are doing daily Scrum, sprint planning, everybody must have these values. If not, there'll be issues. They will not be transparent, right? So they must always have that courage. So what is courage, right? Courage means that from the heart, right? It involves that you are aligning with our beliefs, right? So we are saying, even when something is hard, you're saying that you will do the right thing. You will work on tough problems. There'll be issues that you need to work on, right? You are ready to work on those tough problems, right? So you are ready to experiment, right? You are not scared of failing. You are ready to experiment. So your Scrum team members must have courage. And as a Scrum Master, you must also be ready to tell them that they should be ready to work on tough problems. They should not be scared of failing. Issues will happen. They should be able to open up to the team, okay? The next one is focus. Everyone focuses on the work of the sprint and the goal of the Scrum team, right? So what they are saying here is that the team must focus on the goal, no distraction. Try and remove every distraction, okay? Now, everyone on the team is focusing on the work. Scrum Master, they are watching that everyone is focusing. When there is issue, when people are trying to call the team members away, you are the one guiding them. You are the one shielding them from the external impediments, right? From those external stakeholders, right? So that is your responsibility to ensure that the team is upholding those values. The next one is commitment. People personally commit to achieving the goals of the Scrum team, right? What does it mean? It means that literally the team is joined together, right? They are sharing their sincere intent to act, right? They are accepting the responsibility for following through, right? So when they say they intended to do this, they are following through. They've committed that we are going to do this, right? They've committed that we are going to do it. 1 minute. Okay, so they are saying that when you say you are committed to a product, you are committed to satisfying the customer, yeah? You are committed to the sprint work, right? So everybody on the team understand it. They have the same value. They have the same idea that we are committed to this. We need to get it done. So sometimes when you see that the team is going AYR, you as the Scrum Master will say, you know, we've committed to this. We've committed to satisfying this customer. This is what we've committed for this sprint. Please, let's work on it. Remember, these are the values we must uphold, right? These are some of the languages you'll be using as the Scrum Master, okay? Another thing is respect. So the Scrum team must respect each other to be capable, independent people. So what does that mean? It means that the Scrum team is ready to they are ready to, they are respecting each other. They are saying that I am capable. So they're saying that Adeni is capable, Baba is capable. So you respect their opinions, right? You respect their space. You respect their capability. Because believe me, nobody is higher when it comes to a Scrum team. Everybody is equal, right? And everybody must appreciate everybody's unique capabilities, what you are contributing to the team, okay? Unique appreciation. So when you are working in a Scrum team, you must respect each other, right? You must respect their capability and you must respect their contribution. And the last one is openness. This one is very, very key. The Scrum team and the stakeholder agree to be open about all the work and challenges with performing the work. So meaning that when you're having an issue, you should be able to open up. You need to open up. You need to be truthful. I am having a challenge. Or when you're doing something, when you're assuming, when there's a constraint, you need to speak up. Sometimes it is difficult. As a Scrum Master, these are the things you're looking out for. These are the things you're asking questions about, right? You're seeing someone that says that it's going to take me 2 story points to finish this work. Let's imagine 2 story points like a day's work. The first day, he has not finished it. Second day, he has not finished it. Third day, he has not finished it. You call the person out. If you don't want to call them out, you have a personal meeting one-on-one with them. What is happening? Are you having issues? Is it that you don't understand what you need to do? Do you need support? Do you need help? When they start opening up, you tell them that you need to open up to the team, right? Is a collaborative work. If you are having issues, you tell the tech lead, please watch what Bankole is doing. I think Bankole has issues on this story, right? So if the Scrum team member understand the Scrum values, he will know that there is no issue. He can open up. He needs to be truthful, right? Expose, right? Show what is happening. So those are the Scrum values. It's not like you get to the team and you're having issues, you can't talk. You're just holding on to it. You're holding on to it. What's the point of being in that Scrum team? Open up. Tell them this is the issues you're going through, or you're having an issue, you've been trying to write this code, but it's not working. Okay? So these are the Scrum values, right? For you to work within a Scrum team, and you must uphold these values. Okay? Scrum team is expected to be cross-functional and self-managing. So what do they mean by cross-functional? So what they mean by cross-functional is that a Scrum, in the traditional way, right? When teams are being organized, you see, we'll have system analysts, they'll be together, developers, they'll be together, testers, they'll be together. But when you have a project to implement, they'll bring different things. But you can see that red one, you can see that under functional expertise, they are all together, right? But in the cross-functional team, you bring someone from the system analyst into the team, someone that has testing capabilities into the team, someone that is a developer into the team. Then you now have what we call development team. They call it development team before, but in the new 2020 guide, it's now called developers. It's still the same thing, you just change the name, right? So now they're saying this development team, these developers should be cross-functional. So when you have a Scrum team, you have a cross-functional team. So what does it mean? It means that you have the required skill to get the job done. You get what I'm saying? So the required skill, every member of that team have all the competencies they need to be able to accomplish work without depending on others that are not part of the team. So that's what they're just saying. Everyone has a valid perspective. You get what I'm saying? So the business analyst is documenting the stories, writing the acceptance criteria. The tester is going to test the story when it's ready. The developer is going to code the story, right? So that's what they're just saying. It's cross-functional. All of you are together. Then it's self-managing. So when they mean something is self-organizing, I think they call it self-managing now. When they say a team is self-organizing, it means that the team choose how best to do their work, right? So imagine Baba is let's say a director, right? And we have Bankole, Babatunde, Bumichini, Chioma in a Scrum team, right? Baba is not going to come and tell them that this is how they should get their work done, or this is how you should do your estimation. How will you estimate? So no. You have to do that work in 2 days. Baba is not going to come and tell them that. Bankole, Bumichini, Chioma will decide how they want to estimate. So if we decide that when we say a story is 1 point, it means that you can finish it in 5 hours. The team, they will agree what that means. You get what I'm saying? They will decide how they want to estimate. They will decide the practices, the technical practices they want to do. They will decide on the tools they want to use to track their work, right? So most organizations already paid for tools, right? So they can have Jira, they can have Mural, they can have Confluence, they can have SharePoint. The team will decide that, okay, we want to do our documentation on SharePoint. They will agree, not Baba coming to tell them that you have to use Confluence to document. You get what I'm saying, right? So it's the responsibility of the team. They are self-managing, right? They are not directed by people that are outside of the team. So when you see a Scrum team should be cross-functional and self-organizing. They should be able to manage themselves. So that is very important for you to know. Okay? So who are the Scrum team? This is the Scrum team. This is what we call the Scrum team, right? You have your Scrum Master, you have your product owner, and you have your developers. So these are the roles on the Scrum team. So who is the product owner? The product owner is responsible for maximizing value of the product, right? So the work you're working on, the work the developers is going to work on, is the responsibility of the product owner to maximize value, right? So it's going to manage the work through the product backlog, right? I'll show you how that is done. It's going to manage the work through the product backlog, yeah, by ensuring that the items are clearly understood. So when you write a story that these are the things we want to do next, it's clear, everybody understands that this is what we are doing, right? This is how we want to manage, this is how we want to get this work done. It's the responsibility of the product owner. Joy.
Hi, Florence. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you short. I don't know if you are done. I was just raising my hand for maybe when you are done with the slide or later. Okay, I want to ask though as regards this slide. So you're saying the Scrum team is just these three people, like just these three members that comprises the Scrum team?
These are the three roles.
Okay.
So Scrum Master, product owner, that developers is not one person. So this is what it will look like. So you have the product owner, the Scrum Master, you can have business analysts, architects, developers, QA, but all these other people, they call them developers. That's what I'm trying to say. You get? Yeah, they call them developers. So in the Scrum team, the roles you will have is product owner, Scrum Master, but developers can mean anything. It can mean there's an architect, there is a developer, there is a QA, there is an analyst, business analyst, right? So those are the people you have. Those are what they call developers.
Okay, because I didn't see all this and I was wondering if it is, that's why I was asking, like, where is the BA and where are the other members of the team? Yes. Okay,
I'll get there. I'm building it up, okay? But because I want you to understand that these are the three main roles, right? So
thank you.
Okay. Hi, Florence, could you please explain the self-managing and cross-functional part? Self-managing, I mean that nobody is controlling the team externally, right? They control themselves. They decide how they want to get their work done, how they want to do their estimation. I'll show you estimation, right? But just imagine that those estimation I'll be showing you later, the team decide, right? As a Scrum Master, when you get to a team, even not as a Scrum Master alone, as a business analyst, as anyone getting on the Scrum team, the question you want to find out is, how do you estimate here? So that when you are trying to estimate your work, you understand the criteria they are using. How do you get your work estimated? What tools do we document our stuff? Okay, can I get access to those tools? Those are the questions you'll be asking, okay? So they're saying that no one outside of the team, external to the team, is managing them. They get to choose how they accomplish their work. So that's self-managing. Cross-functional means that all the skills they require to get the job done is in that team. So now remember that I'm not talking about the shared resources. You know, when we first started, I showed you shared resources and people that you can expect to have on your team. Those shared resources, you still have to use them as shared resources, meaning if you need an Agile coach, you can go get an Agile coach for your team, but the Agile coach will not be part of your Scrum team. If you need a cybersecurity specialist in your design, you go get the cybersecurity person. It's not going to be part of your Scrum team because they are shared resources. They are not specific to your Scrum team, right? You share them when you need them. right? So you can't put a cybersecurity person on your team. What would the person be doing? Because they're going to consult for you. When they are done, they need to go, right? So those are shared resources. But for the other roles like business analyst, tech lead, developers, QA, they should be cross-functional. So all the skills required, all the competencies required to get the work done is part of that team. You are not depending on external members of the team. Okay, is that clear? Great. Okay, so we're talking about Scrum team. We've talked about what the product owner does, right? It maximizes the value. It maximizes that value by managing the product backlog, right? Is the one, the product owner is the one in charge of the product backlog, right? Now, we now have the development team. They are the one responsible for building the actual product increment, right? They are the one doing the work. That is the team that we are referring to being cross-functional and self-managing, right? Every member of that team has special skills, area of focus, right? They are accountable as a team, right? So when they get to do the work, they are accountable together. That's why they are making sure everybody gets to work together. Sometimes when we get to do work, sometimes we just have an emergency. One of my developers is off work, but another person in the team can take up that work and finish it because he also has that skill to get that job done, right? So they understand each other because they know that because Ade has an emergency, it doesn't mean that we will not deliver on our goal. We still need to deliver on our goal. So if Baba has a capacity to do the work, he will take on the work because he understands that the goal to get that job done depend on them. They are all accountable as a team, right? So what Scrum is saying that for the Scrum team, they should not be more than 10, right? And that is why when you see people that practice Scrum, that's why they now start using SAFe, someone like Portfolio, because they have a team of 40 working on a product. They will now have different Scrum teams. They will now practice Scrum of Scrum so that they can manage that 40 teams together. But in each Scrum, you get an organization, they call them pod, squad. So if you get an organization, they say, oh, that squad, you need to understand that they're saying that Scrum team. That pod, they're just saying that Scrum team. Because you'll be hearing different names. You just be wondering, oh, but Florence said the Scrum team. So what are they saying here? That's what they call a squad. Some organization will say pod. You get what I'm saying? So you just want to know the name they call it in the organization you are going to, but the general name is Scrum team, okay? So now they use that, right? So that's what the developers do. Now, the Scrum Master, what is your own role? You are responsible for ensuring that Scrum is understood within that team, right? You are the master of Scrum. You are the one saying that, you are the one guiding them to say, these are the theories, they should follow those values, right? You are the ones letting them understand that they need to have an agile mindset, right? And you're not doing it by forcing them, right? You are leading by helping the team because you want them to operate at the highest level. You want them to be self-sustaining. You want them to operate at a higher frequency to deliver more, right? So you are helping them. You are not forcing them that do this, you must do it this way, right? That's why they look at the Scrum Master as a servant leader, right? Even though this has been changed now, right? So they said they see them as a leader, right? They want them to be part of leadership, right? That's the way they see them now, right? So for one product, can you have squads with multiple product owner and Scrum Master? It's always good that you have one product, okay, Temi said it. One product owner. That's the best scenario. But it might be in some situation, you will have something they call the product owner, the chief product owner. That one I explained that the chief product owner, you can have that. They now have different product owners for the different squads, right? You now have the chief product owner. So that's what they now mean that one product, one PO. That's the chief product owner. But for each of the squads, you can have a PO. That's the way some organization will do it. Some organization will just have that one product owner. For each squad, they might not have a product owner. They will just have someone like a business analyst helping them. Yes, are the squad delivering one product? Yes, not all the time. I'm just saying, for example, you can have 3 squads working on one product. But you can also have 3 squads working on different products. In that scenario, they are not related. They are all different teams. But sometimes you can have like multiple squads working on a particular product. So in that scenario, you have something like this. Let me see if I can quickly go back there. So you have something like this. You have a product manager, like a chief product owner. Then you now have product owner Scrum team 1, product owner Scrum team 2, product owner Scrum team 3. Something like that. But in some organization, this one that they're saying product owner Scrum team 1, product owner Scrum team 2, product owner, you might just be a business analyst helping, working as a product owner. Then you now have the big product owner at the top. Yes, that's a scaled environment. They will now be doing something like SAFe or Scrum of Scrum. That's if you have multiple squads working on the product. But naturally, you can just have one team working on the product. Then you have one product owner, one product, one Scrum team. Okay? Okay? So that's the role of the Scrum Master. You are the master of the process. They call you process master. That's who you are. And you want to ensure that you help the team to understand how Scrum can help them accomplish and align their goals. That's your role. Okay? So this is what an example of the Scrum team will look like. You have a product owner, right? I told you that the product owner is the one representing this, the customer's interest, is empowered to make decision on the product for the business, right? You have the Scrum Master leading, planning, facilitating the ceremony, helping the team to remove impediment, ensuring that there's continuous improvement, right? Then you have other people in the team, the analysts, the developer, the QA, the architect, right? I also said something that this Scrum is now moving to different business areas like marketing, like HR. Now for HR, they might not be working on the software, right? So those developers, it might not be that they have people that are called developer, like front end, back end. They might just have maybe HR analysts, have I don't know, depending on the kind of product they are working on. But typically, this is what a typical Scrum team would look like. Okay? So let's discuss what happens in a nutshell before we now start talking about the details of their rules. 1 second, please. So let's talk about Scrum in a nutshell. So from the left, I'm starting from the left. Do you guys see my mouse? Can you see my mouse?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Great. So from the left now, these are the stakeholders. So let's look at these stakeholders like marketing, sales department. They want to implement Salesforce. I'll use Salesforce as an example. We want to implement Salesforce, right? So look at all these people, like this is Joanne, this is Jinad, this is Jane, this is Benga, Femi, Erica, all of them are here. They are all here. We are now saying that, okay, we want to implement Salesforce. They will now say, okay, Erica, can you be the product owner in terms of, can you be the one to oversee this product for us, right? So Erica is now the product owner. It's not only Erica that will use this product. Joanne will use it, Gina will use it, Jane will use it, Benga will use it. They will all use this product. But for this product to be implemented, for us to develop that product, we are saying that Erica should represent us as the product owner. So Erica has been given the power to make decisions on this product. But it doesn't mean that Erica will not always go back to the stakeholder to clarify with them, right? Erica will always go back to clarify with them. Now, so what Erica is holding is what we call the product owner. Erica is the one in red, holding this product backlog. She is the product owner, holding this product backlog. And she's saying that these are the things we want to work on, right? These are the items we want to focus on. So our responsibility is for her to maximize the value of those items, right? She's going to clearly describe all these product items. Yes, that product owner can also be a product manager. In some organizations, they call it product manager, right? So their work is they will prioritize this backlog. They will manage this backlog. Sometimes, while they are managing this backlog, sometimes part of the developer, like a business analyst, will also be helping them. But actually, you have some product owner that they cannot even use the tool. Maybe your organization is using Jira. They can't use it very well. So the business analyst will be the one helping them document it. But she can come and write it in an Excel sheet or write it in a Word document or something like that. Then the business analyst will, make it better, put them in the tool, right? But this Erica here, the product owner, is responsible for this product backlog. Now she's coming with this product backlog. She will now say that this product backlog has been prioritized. So what does it mean by it has been prioritized? The product she's saying that I have looked at this product that we want to work on. I have decided that which one should we do first. I have prioritized it, right? Based on the value that it's going to provide. I have said this, what I'm saying is that I have looked at it and I'm telling you that this is what my stakeholders want to see. This is what Joanne wants to see first. This is what Kabir wants to see. This is what they want to start using first. Okay, Scrum team, please, this is what you should first work on. So that's what Erica is doing. So Erica will now come to the team. You can see Erica walking to the team. Now we want to start our sprint. So in this scenario, I want you to imagine that sprint 0 has been completed. I will explain what sprint 0 is to you. So, but just imagine sprint 0 has been completed. So they will now come that, okay, I've refined this requirement. I have prioritized it based on value. I have ordered the work that we need to do. Okay, team, can we look at it and determine if it is okay, if we are ready to go, and what work can we do next? The team will now come together. The team, look at the team, the development team. Now, let's say Lauren, Mercy, Mo, Nkiru, you guys are the development team. You now say, okay, look at the product backlog. Look at the product backlog and say that this item, we can do it. This item will do it. Oh, we can't do this item because there is a dependency. We need to first talk to the API team so that we can get this done and that. At that point in time, they will say, okay, we can't do that. They will leave that in the backlog. Now they will move these items. They will use something we call definition of ready. Every team will have their definition of ready. So what definition of ready is just saying is that these are the things that will determine that this thing is ready, this user story is ready. Some people will use things like invest, right? Some people they will just detail it. They'll write a story to say, this is what we will say, these stories are ready to be moved to the sprint, right? So let's say that 5 items from these stories are ready to be moved to the sprint. We've estimated it, right? We've determined that they are ready. We've ordered it. We know how long it's going to take us to get the work done, right? We will now move those items based on the description. We've detailed it, we've ordered, we have the value, we have the estimate. When they say estimate, they're talking about the efforts. We'll now move them to the sprint backlog using that definition of ready. When it is now in the sprint backlog, you can see that the guys in green are the one moving it to the sprint backlog because that sprint backlog is owned by the developers. Do you understand that part? You know, the product backlog is owned by the product owner. The sprint backlog is owned by the developers. So they are moving the work here, right? So when they move the work to the sprint backlog, everyone has agreed that these are the work that we are going to do. The Scrum Master is here, the one in blue, asking questions. Is it okay? Based on your last capacity, are you sure we can do all this? Okay, that story, are you sure there's no dependency that you are asking all the right questions, right? You are going to look at their velocity. If it is a new sprint, a new team, right, you won't have velocity. So your first and second sprint is just for you to determine what your velocity is. But if it's already a team in existence, right, let's say your velocity is 40 story points. By the time they start moving this story point into the backlog, sprint backlog, and you're seeing 45, you will tell the team that the last work you did, your velocity was 40, but the story you are moving here now is 45. And you'll be hearing things like, oh, you know, the last time 3 members of the development team were on holiday, so the capacity reduced, but everyone is back now. No, the team is going to be available throughout this week. So we'll be able to complete a 45 story point, right? So that's how they make those decisions. And you are the Scrum Master, you are making sure that all those questions are answered. You are facilitating to make sure that you are by asking the right questions, okay? Now that the sprint backlog is ready, they've agreed, then they will have a sprint goal based on all the stories they move to the backlog, right? So let's say the stories we are moving to the backlog is we want to have a home page. In that home page, we want to talk about our company. We want to talk about the services we do, right? So maybe the goal of our sprint, that sprint will now say, the goal of this sprint is to develop the home page with the services. That will be your goal for that sprint. You will determine that goal together as a team. So when the goal has been determined, you have all the work that you want to do for that sprint, then you now start the sprint. So when you start the sprint, then you will now be meeting, you see the arrow? You are now here. You finished sprint planning. Now you started the sprint, right? When you start that sprint, every day you'll be meeting. What are you meeting to do? You are meeting to determine what the work that has been done till that present moment, right? What have you done, right? Even based on what you have done, what do you need to do? Do you have any issues? Are there any issues that you want to, that is affecting the team, right? You want to be sure that if there is any issue, you guys will talk about it. So the Scrum Master is asking the right question. Okay, so why have we not moved this story? Why is this story still in doing, right? Because it's over a week, right? You want to know why. You're asking the right question. You're telling them to move the board as they are getting the work done. Move the board, right? Even sometimes, some team will not even move the board. The Scrum Master will just have a meeting and make sure that everyone is moving their stories on the board, right? So that the velocity can read right, so that the burn down chart can read right? So when everything is done, right, they keep moving it till it's done, right? Now, this definition of done that we have here, the team would craft that because the team would decide what they would classify as definition of done. An example is, they might say every stories must undergo quality assurance and user acceptance testing for you to classify it as done. So that is one criteria, right? The team will decide on that definition of done together. So they will make sure that before the story is moved to done, it agrees with what they put together as definition of done. Now they will continue this daily Scrum every day till their last day of the sprint. During the last day of the sprint, they will now come together to do a sprint review to say, this is what we've been doing. If their sprint cadence is 2 weeks, it can be 3 weeks, it can be 1 week, it can be 4 weeks. They will not agree, but the most common one is 2 weeks. They will not agree, they will not do a sprint review. in this sprint review, you can see that the product owner is there, the Scrum Master is there, the developers are there, but there are other people in white, the stakeholders. They are all there. So they will review the work that has been done for that sprint, and they will look at it and they will agree, they will give their feedback. If they are okay with it, oh, but we wanted it, maybe they said they wanted blue and yellow for their home page. But maybe when they got there, they said, oh, but the blue and yellow did not go to, oh, can you change that yellow to gold? I think gold will be better and all that. The team is taking the feedback and adding it to the backlog, to the product backlog. They will take the feedback, add it to the product backlog. If they presented and if they did the demo and everything is good, everything is fine, the team will accept that product increment. They will accept it and say the team has completed that work, right? When that is done, then they will now, after that sprint review, the same day, on the last day, they will do their sprint retrospective. So the sprint retrospective is more like the process. Oh, how did we do this sprint? Did we do well? What are the things we might need to change? What are the things that we liked? What are the things we did not like? So they will now say, what are the things we did not like? They will now say, okay, let's pick some action item for us to improve in the next sprint, right? They will add it to the next sprint, right? If they look at it and say, right now, before, the sprint guide said, when you pick one action item, you add it to the next sprint. But in this new guide, they said, just every action item, you add it to the product backlog, but you decide during your refinement on when you want to do it, okay? They will not say you want to do it, they will add it to it. So after you finish your sprint retrospective on the last day, you go back and start again. But while you are doing this, all this process, within this daily Scrum day, there is a day that you are going to do what we call refinement. You refine your backlog. So the product owner and the team, you can see the product owner and the team, they are refining this backlog. So they will pick one of the day to refine this backlog in readiness for the next sprint planning, right? So you asked the question, you said, so there is a break between sprint for the sprint review. No, there is no break. The sprint review is part of your sprint. So when you say sprint is just like a container, right? Container for the events. So your sprint can be 1 week, it can be 2 weeks, it can be 3 weeks, it can be 4 weeks. But the most common one is 2 weeks. That's what most organizations will do, right? Within a sprint, there are time-boxed events, right? Which is the sprint planning, the daily Scrum, the sprint review, the sprint retrospective. But most organizations will also do one sprint they call the backlog refinement, so that they can keep refining this product backlog. Because if you don't refine it, it will affect your sprint planning. You will spend too much time doing sprint planning and the team will be tired. They won't even be interested because it's going to be a long meeting. So you have to keep refining your backlog so that your sprint planning will be easier, right? So all these events will happen within their sprint, right? So this is what actually happened. And the Scrum Master will ensure that every sprint is facilitating the meetings, is removing the impediment. You are the one that will make sure that all these things are getting done. The product owner will come based on user communities. It will go back to these user stakeholders, discuss with them. They will say, oh, no, this is what we want to see next. Oh, Erica, have you discussed? This is what we think should be next. We know this, that. She will put everything in this product backlog. The team will refine it. They will do sprint planning. There is no break. You don't take any break. You keep working, working, and all. Now, the daily Scrum is supposed to be for 15 minutes. But sometimes you see teams discussing. You as the Scrum Master, you are the one to tell them that, okay, you know what, let's focus on, everyone talking about what they're doing if they have impediments. If you see them talking, you have to find a way to tell them that, can we put that in the parking lot? Can we talk about that after the daily Scrum? You understand? You have to let everybody have that time to talk. The plan is 15 minutes. So you as the Scrum Master is the one that will make sure that you are telling them, this daily Scrum is 15 minutes. It's just to talk about what you're currently doing if you have any issue that needs to be resolved, right? So that people don't lose. Before you know it, if you don't keep doing that, people will just not show up anymore, right? So you want to make sure that you're keeping to that time. Sometimes, yes, you might not keep to 15 minutes, right? But at least make sure that it's rolling. Don't let people be wasting time, right? So that's the job of the Scrum Master, to make sure that these events, they are happening, right? So this will continue on and on and on and on till you finish that product, right? Sometimes this Scrum work issues might happen and you might need to cancel the sprint, right? Is this the responsibility of the PO to decide if they are canceling a sprint or they are not canceling a sprint. And you can cancel a sprint for different reasons. Maybe when you are building and that sprint is not needed anymore, or maybe the product is even not going to be developed anymore. It can be different reasons, but that responsibility lies in the hands of the product owner. So basically, that is what happens in a sprint. So this is what happens in Scrum. This is the Scrum. This is what they call Scrum in a nutshell, right? It's simple to, understand, but it's difficult to master. Okay? Any question?
Yes, I have a question, Florence.
Okay.
Name is Joy. Okay. Oh, you've taken off the slide, but I still have the question. Yeah. So I was going to.
Okay. I'll show you. Can you see?
Yeah, I can. Thanks. So I was going to ask the exact difference between the sprint review session and the retrospective section, because I came to know, or was my mind, what I was told though. However, it's that in the sprint review, it's more about reviewing the products, and then just as you said, if it is okay, it's released, while the sprint retrospective is one that focuses on the individual members of the team, where they review each of their performances, if they had challenges, and also it's discussing more about the team members, while the review is more about the products or projects that was worked on. I don't know if that concept is okay.
Yeah, that's correct. So review, you're reviewing more about the products with the stakeholders, with the people. You see the people that are with Erica that are wearing white here. Mm-hmm. When it's sprint review, they will come to the meeting. They will all look at it together. Even though you've been working with Erica throughout the 2 weeks, but at the end of that 2 weeks, they will come and review the product to accept it or either reject it, right? But the retrospective, you can't see nobody wearing white, just the Scrum team. They are not looking at the work. They are looking at the process. How did we do our performance? How did we operate? You now start hearing people that, I had a lot of external disturbance this week, You now start looking at how you can help them remove those external. They will say the process, this, that, lessons learned, exactly. Focusing on process. But the product is sprint review, where you demo what you've done and the stakeholders either accept it or they have issues or feedback that you can now go work on again on that product. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I can see some hands up. Let's start with E.
Hi, sorry, it's Ella. I was trying to edit my name. I can't edit it. I don't know if you can maybe throw more light on the definition of done, or maybe just explain it a little bit more. I did not quite understand it.
Okay, we are still going to talk about the definition of done. So look at the definition of done like something like as a team. For you to say you're working on stories, for you to say this story is done, for you to say that I can move this story to done on the board, right? You look at the list of the things you listed for definition of done. So one of the things might be your story must be tested, right? And must also go through user acceptance testing by the product owner. So if your story, what you worked on, the QA will test it, then you check. The product owner will do UAT on it to say, okay, everything works as expected. according to the acceptance criteria, everything is working. Check. Now, I've given you 2 items on definition of done. So if those 2 items have been accepted, then you move that story to done. That's your definition of done. So even you as a developer, if you develop it, or business analyst, you wrote all the acceptance criteria, but it has not gone through that definition of done, that story is not yet completed.
Okay, because I wanted to ask if it was the same thing as acceptance criteria, but I see you just mentioned acceptance criteria in a different way. So
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Baba.
Okay, then sorry, Florence. Please, I don't know if I missed out what's happening here. This place on the slide that has at least in brackets 1 improvement coming back from the sprint retrospective. Is it going back into the sprint backlog? Yeah.
So what they're saying that is going into the next sprint backlog. And
not the project backlog. Not the product backlog, I meant.
In the 2020 guide, is now going into the product backlog. So from the product backlog, you now decide on which improvement you want to work on in the sprint backlog. Before, what the guide said that you take 1 into the sprint backlog. You have a lot of improvements you've identified during the sprint perspective. So they say take 1 into your next sprint. But now they're saying just take everything, all the items that you've listed for improvement, take them into the product backlog. But when you're not doing sprint backlog, you can take 1 from there and add into your sprint backlog.
So that means your arrow could as well be going back into the product backlog. Is that it?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes. Baba,
okay.
You're welcome.
Okay, hey Florence, good evening. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Very well. Okay, my question is with grooming. Where does grooming come in here? I know that's something that is often practiced, trying to make sure that indeed you refine the requirements, obviously with your team, and making sure that indeed everyone is aligned before you actually get into the actual work.
Okay, so that refinement, you can see near the product backlog, you see where they put refinement?
Yes, so that's another word for grooming?
Yes, so they don't call it grooming anymore, it's called refinement now. So if you go to your team, don't call it grooming anymore.
Well, my team calls it grooming anyway, that's why I'm like...
they don't call it grooming anymore, it's now refinement. They say grooming, that word is associated with something, I won't say, so it's now called refinement.
You don't need to say, we understand.
Okay. So yes, but okay, let me explain using my board, because some people like, let me give you an example of a 2 weeks sprint, how I will run my 2 week sprint, okay? If you see any company that is still using grooming, tell them when you get there, say, no, it's now called refinement. We don't call it grooming anymore. Let them know that, yes.
And I learned from Florence.
Yes, it's now called grooming. Okay. Can you see my board? Like a whiteboard?
Yes.
Okay, great. So let's put something together. So I want to give you an example of a 2 week sprint, right? So this is what actually happened in a 2 week sprint, okay? So when you say 2 week sprints, right, that's 10 days. You get, the Scrum guy said you can have 1 week sprints, 2 week sprints, 3 week sprints, 4 week sprints, right? Remember that principle that said that you deliver frequently. So Scrum is saying that for you to adhere, for you to follow that principle, don't do more than 4 weeks. If you're doing more than 4 weeks, you are not delivering frequently anymore. So, but most organizations will do 2 weeks. Okay, that is the most common one, right? But the team will determine, they will agree on what they want to do. And so if you are doing a 2 week sprint, then you are running a 10 days work. So remember, a sprint is just a container, right? So you say, when you get to another, they say, oh, what cadence do you want? What is your sprint cadence? You're saying that, what is your sprint cadence is like, what is the time length of your sprint? Is it a 1 week sprint? Is it a 2 week sprint, 3 weeks, 4 weeks? So when you start using those lingo, What is your cadence? What is your sprint cadence? Oh, is it 2 week sprint cadence? Okay, they understand that you understand that they're talking about 10 days. So I'll show you what the 10 days looks like. So let's look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is a 10-day, right? This is 10 days. So this is day 1. This is day 2. This is day 3. Sorry, don't mind my drawing. This is day 4. Let me use my hand. It's touchscreen. It's not working. This is day 5. This is your day 6. This is your day 7. This is your day 8. This is your day 9. And this is your day 10. So if your team is running a 2-week sprint, right? This day 1 is your sprint planning day. So you'll be doing sprint planning on the first day of your sprint, right? You know that sprint planning, when I was saying that they will develop a sprint backlog, they will come up with their sprint backlog with their goal, but they are looking at it from the product backlog to determine what they can do in the sprint. In day 2, you do daily Scrum. You are meeting for 15 minutes. In day 3, you do daily Scrum. You're meeting for 15 minutes, right? What are you meeting to discuss in that 15 minutes? You are meeting to discuss what happened yesterday. What did you do today? What are you planning to do? You know, things like that. Those are the things you'll be talking about, right? In day 4, daily Scrum. Day 5, daily Scrum. Day 6, daily Scrum. Day 7, daily Scrum. Day 8, daily Scrum. Day 9, daily Scrum. Day 10, you now have sprint review and sprint retrospective, right? You have your sprint review where you have with those stakeholders to decide, to get your feedback, for them to accept your increments. And you also have sprint review, retrospective with the team. Now, this is how your 2 weeks happen, right? When you finish the day 10, you go back and start day 1, sprint planning again. But for you to do this day 1 sprint planning, you know you have something we call the product backlog. But for your sprint planning to make sense, you need to always refine this product backlog. You need to always refine it. So within these 10 days, you will pick days that you are going to refine. Like in my team, we do backlog refinements day 5 and day 6. Backlog refinements. In another project that I'm running, we'll do backlog refinements on day 7. Only one time, backlog refinements. We'll do 2 hours. This one that I have to, we'll do 1 hour. We'll do another 1 hour. You get what I'm saying? So backlog refinement, right? So why are you doing the backlog refinement? You are getting ready for the next sprint. You are looking at this product backlog and refining it to say, this is one that is more priority. This is one that will give the stakeholder value next, right? Because you have a lot of them. You have a lot of things you need to do. So you are prioritizing to say this one should go up, this one should come down. Okay, these are the ones we've prioritized that we are doing next. So that when you start this sprint planning, you are taking out of this product backlog and you now have something we call sprint backlog during your sprint planning. When you finish your sprint planning, your result will be your sprint backlog and your sprint goal. You now start your sprint. The next day again, you meet daily Scrum. 3rd day, daily Scrum. 4th day, daily Scrum. 5th day, daily Scrum. You continue like that till you get to day 10. Day 10, you have a sprint review. You have a sprint retrospective, right? Like that. And you're having your daily Scrum. You have picked one day within that team to do backlog refinement again, based on the stories here, to refine in readiness of the next sprint. Okay? He said, if increment is rejected, did the Scrum team fail? Tammy has replied, it means that you did not meet your goal, right? And you're going to explain in this sprint review why you did not meet your goal. It was there dependency? What are the issues you face? What are the actions you took as a team? You have to let the stakeholder know. That's what they say, be transparent. Be transparent, right? That is why Scrum is based on empirical process. Be transparent. You have to let the stakeholder know. Scrum values, be courageous, be open to tell the truth. Okay? Do you mean that on the last day, yeah, tell me, well done. The last day is for sprint retro and retrospective. There is no daily Scrum. At the day 9, you're already preparing your presentation and your demo. You know who is going to demo, right? The Scrum Master is saying, okay, Chini, are you the one demoing tomorrow? Are you the one, okay, who is demoing tomorrow? What did we achieve? You are finalizing this because on the last day, the stakeholder has come in to see what you've done. And when you finish presenting to them, either they accept or they reject or anything, then you as a team, without the stakeholder, will now have sprint retrospective. So imagine that. So Scrum Master, you are going to make sure all this happens. You are facilitating all this. During, when we're in face-to-face, you have a room already. Everybody will just go to that room. But now that there's no room, that's why you can see that during this work from home, they need Scrum Masters a lot because you have to set up meetings for all these things virtually, right? And you have to make sure that all these things are happening. So that's why Scrum Masters are now in demand a lot. So you need to understand all this, right? And when you do all this, you need to also have people that can help you within the team, right? Because you can have 2 Scrum team, 3 Scrum team you are managing. One thing I do is that for my Scrum team, maybe for one of them, sprint planning will start on Monday. For another team, I will not start on Monday because if I have 2 sprint planning on Monday, by the time we finish, I'm already tired. I'm out, right? So I will try and see if another team can start their own sprint planning on Wednesday. So that means their own 10 days will start from Wednesday to Wednesday, to 2 weeks Wednesday. When this other one is starting from Monday to, like, you understand, Monday to Friday, 10 days. Their own will be Wednesday to Wednesday to Wednesday. You get what I'm saying? Wednesday to Tuesday, something like that. Right? So because at the end of the day, I want to space this out. Because I can attend daily Scrum here, right, for one team, but I can be doing sprint planning for another team easily. But if you put everything together, you realize that you cannot even, your timing will be affected, right? So you have to plan. That's your responsibility to be able to plan your work. So this is what your 2 weeks will look like on a typical day, okay? You are also refining the backlog to ensure that the stories are ready to be worked on by the developers before moving the stories to this. Yes, that's the major reason why you are working on that refinement. If you don't work on it, by the time you get to sprint planning, you now be saying, okay, what are we working on? Okay, which of the story? Oh, we cannot do that story. Oh, that story has a dependency. But if you have done that in the refinement, what you just be looking at here is, we've refined it, we've agreed. You just be looking at your definition of ready. It's okay. You take the story. Is there any dependency? No. Does it meet your invest criteria? Yes. Okay, this story is ready. Does it have the acceptance criteria? Yes. Okay, move it into this sprint backlog. And this sprint backlog is owned by the developers. This product backlog is owned by the product owner. It's the responsibility of the product owner, but the business analyst within the team can also help the product owner. So does that mean that one can take up more than one Scrum Master role? I don't know. I will not talk about that one. Let's leave that one, okay? If you have the capability. But within your organization, you can even have more than one team. You don't understand. Within your organization, they can give you more than one Scrum team to manage. You can have 3 Scrum teams. So you must even have capacity to finish that 3 Scrum team before you can now go and take another Scrum role in another organization. You get what I'm saying? Baba, do you still have a question? Your hands are raised. Joy, do you have a question?
Yes, Florence. So that slide of Scrum in a nutshell, everything that happens there typically, is it, so that's what is it like some sort of documentation, like in Jira? Is that where everything goes on, or like where is there anything like that, or everything is just like being done like the Agile approach and no sort of documentation? I'm just asking how it works.
Okay. So you understand that from this thing I've explained now, this 10 days, right? You've seen what the Scrum events are, right? You've seen all the Scrum events, and you've also seen the product, the artifacts, right? The Scrum artifact, which is the product backlog, the sprint backlog, and the increment to deliver on day 10. Those are So now this product backlog and sprint backlog, you can use them, Jira, to document it. So for someone like me, I use Confluence. I'll first put them in Confluence. I want to see it. Then we'll now transfer it to Jira. Or sometime I'll link my Confluence to Jira. So every ticket here, it will be showing on my Confluence. Then when you close that ticket in Jira, it will show that it's closed. Then I can mark it as done, right? The increment too, I'll document it in Confluence. But some organization, you can just be using only Jira. Some organization, they will use Asana. Some organization, they will use Rally. You understand? Some organizations say they will use Excel, but the most common one is Jira. Okay? More.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Moradike. I asked a question earlier, you missed it. I said, is it possible to have a different a sprint time length? I'm not sure if that's the correct word. To have the same the timeline rather in the same company for different projects.
So you mean that if I have let's say I have two Scrum teams, right?
Yes.
So one team they can be using 2 weeks, another one can be using 3 weeks. That's why they said, when they said it's self-organizing, right? The team would decide that our cadence should be 2 weeks. We want a 2 weeks cadence. Some team will say, no, let's do a 3 weeks cadence. They will have their reasons, right? So depending on your team. But if you decide that it's 2 weeks for that project, you will continue to do 2 weeks, 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 2 weeks. Okay? So it's not like there's a break. When you finish day 10, you go again and start day 1. Anybody that go on holiday, that's why during this sprint planning, there will be something they call capacity planning. Scrum Master responsibility, capacity planning. Okay, everybody, you have their names. Okay, Temi, are you going on holiday? Any vacation this week? Temi will have put that. You just have that booklet somewhere, or in your Confluence or in Excel sheet. You put, I'm going to be on holiday for 3 days. Because why are you finding out those things? Because it will affect what the team can deliver. If you have 2 business analysts, and Temi is already out, she's one of the business analysts, that means you have only 1 business analyst to help the team. Or Temi is the QA, that means you don't even have a QA for 2 days. You understand what I'm trying to say? So it will affect what the team is doing. Okay? So that's why you have to do that capacity planning. It's key. Okay? And it's your responsibility as the Scrum Master to have all those things. So Temi has replied to Venita. It happens during sprint planning. So the demo happened during the sprint review. Sorry. So a demo, what's this demo? The demo is the work you did. You want to demo it. It can be anything. It can be you did a UX. You know that UX design that we described at the beginning? It can be you designed something. It can actually be you did some coding work and you did something is working. It can even be you did a research. It can be anything, but what that increment you achieve during that sprint is what they call the demo. Yes, the dev team does the demo, someone out of the team. Sometimes is the product owner. If it's something the product owner can do, the product owner will do it. But most time, if the product owner can do it, the dev team will do it. But the Scrum Master ensures that that meeting happens. The product owner will tell you the people that should be in that meeting. Okay?
Sorry, Florence. Please, what was the lingo again? Timeline or I'm sorry.
Sprint cadence. CADENCE. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is it clear? This is Scrum in a nutshell. Any question? Erica.
Hi, Florence. Thanks for, this is a lot of great information tonight. I started typing something and I thought it'd just be quicker just to ask you. So you were sharing with us before that as a Scrum Master, you may be working with multiple teams.
Mm-hmm.
So what if, and then those same teams can decide whether their sprint cycle is going to be a week to 4 weeks. Mm-hmm. So what if one of the teams changed their cycle from, let's say, 4 weeks to 2 weeks, and then you realize it's going to overlap with another team on the same day for mm-hmm. planning? Mm-hmm. How do you adjust so that you're not overwhelmed? And let's say the team wanted to start on Monday. So now you have 2 teams on Monday, but you really would like that second team to start on a Wednesday. Mm-hmm. What would you do because it seems like maybe that team would be, I don't want to say sitting around for a couple of days, but what do you do to fill the gap, so to speak, if you really want to separate the meetings?
You cajole them. I told them, you are the one planning, right? You're the ones facilitating. You're the one booking the meetings.
Okay.
So by the time they're talking, I'll just say, okay, maybe we'll start our sprints on Wednesdays so we can finish on Tuesdays. It depends, right? You can say, oh, maybe most people don't like to work on Friday. There's a way. You always find a way, right? You find a way to talk to your team, right? And sometimes it might be difficult. You might have to do 2 sprint planning on Monday because the team, by the time you get there, you're not the one starting. It's already ongoing. You're just taking over from another Scrum Master. You understand?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and you did mention that before because I remember now that you said you can ask somebody else on the team to start it, and then you jump in after. Okay.
Exactly. So I have teams that I do sprint planning on the same day. So what I do is for my teams, I have co-facilitator, co-host. If I'm not there, they can start. You understand? Okay. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I'm talking to stakeholders in terms of impediments. I need to help them remove impediments. I don't even attend daily Scrum sometimes because my teams are high performing. Mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying? I don't even attend the Scrum. I help them with a lot of work. I also do architectural works for them. So I go to the architecture board to help them with approvals, right? So that they can continue getting work done, right? Because I have a bit of technology experience, right? So when I focus on that, they continue. You understand?
Yeah, I do completely. All right, exactly. Thank you.
Yeah, so sometimes you might not even be there. Sometimes you just go in and they've started and, you just see what they are doing and you're asking questions. But because you already put things in place, like that capacity planning, you have your template in Excel. So when they want to start, everybody has imputed their, timing and all those things. Okay, so they can use that to determine. And when you get in, you just start asking questions. Okay, have we considered that? Have we considered this? By the time you do it over and over again, by the time you keep telling your team members, they will adjust. Right? Mm-hmm. If they don't know, it's a different thing. But when they know, they'll be high performing. You won't have issues. It's like you starting a new team. When they don't know each other, there will always be issues. You book a meeting. People will tell you, why is Erica booking a meeting for 8 o'clock? I don't think I want to do this meeting. But by the time you understand your team that when you book a meeting for 9:30, everybody shows up, you yourself will know, not book a meeting for 8 o'clock. If you want to book a meeting for 8 o'clock, maybe there's no time in anybody's calendar, and maybe you guys need to resolve something. You're going to have like, we call it chit chat. You quickly talk to Adi, I want to book an 8 o'clock meeting. Can you this is just going to be a one-time meeting, it's not like all the time. But I'm going to book an 8 o'clock meeting. I'm already doing like, we call it like a background stuff. You quickly do all those stuff. Then you now book the meeting. So you know everybody's going to show up. Because you've done your background work, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Florence, how do you handle emergency from the team? Someone falling sick or a family emergency and a team member is off. When a team member is off, that's why you don't you don't do their full capacity. Let's say they have a capacity to do 50 story points. Sometimes I do 49. But when it happens like sometimes you do 48. When you realize that there's a situation and someone is off, I can say, Chini, let's say Chini is off. Chini and Chioma has the skills that Chini has. Chioma, can you take up Chini's work? Chini just have an emergency and all that. Chioma will tell you, okay, I'm almost done with my task. Okay, I can take up Chini's work. Or no, I can't really do that. I've not finished mine, and I don't know if I have capacity for that. There's nothing you can do. That work will move to the next, back to the backlog or to the next sprint if it's really urgent that you need to finish it, right? So you prioritize again and say, okay, these are the ones we need to finish within this sprint, because emergencies will happen, right? Even you as the Scrum Master, you have emergency. There was a time I was in a meeting and they called me from my daughter's school. I left that meeting immediately. I just told someone, oh, please take over. I need to go now, right? Emergencies will always happen. So you just keep reprioritizing, okay? Sonny.
Thank you very much, Florence. I just wanted to ask, in what circumstance can a Scrum Master transition his team to Kanban?
If the team is not dedicated, how can you have a Scrum team and the Scrum team is not dedicated? Like what I mean by dedicated is the allocation they have on that project is less than 50%. So Benita will tell me, my allocation to this project is 20%. Does that look like someone that is dedicated to my project? No, that means she has several projects she's working on. When you now tell her to come for daily Scrum, she'll tell you, oh, I had another meeting, I couldn't make it. They are not dedicated. So when you don't have like 60% of your team members dedicated to that project, you discuss with your team and transfer that to a Kanban project, because that means that project is not time dependent. It's not urgent for you to finish it on time. So if they can't have dedicated people on that project, then it's not urgent for you to finish on time. So you transfer it back to Kanban and let the team just work in limits. When they are done, they move the next item on board. When they are done, they move the next item on board. If you don't have a dedicated team, or at least 60 to 70% of your team dedicated to that Scrum team, why are you doing Scrum? Is that fair?
So, but I just wanted to add, is that the only thing that can cause a Scrum Master to transition his team to Kanban, like dedication only?
That's one of the things. Another thing can be the work you're working on is more like a support work. It's not something, is the same thing. Like, it's not, when you have like tickets, you are resolving issues, another ticket is coming. Yeah, they keep coming. It's continuous, the same thing. You are just putting them in the backlog that needs to be resolved. Then there is no reason why you want to do Scrum. You get, there's no reason. So let's say I'm working in a team where they just keep giving us tickets to resolve, small items. You do Kanban, right? Why are you doing Scrum, right? It's not like you're building a product, like more of operations work. You don't need to do Scrum, you can do Kanban. And if you don't have the dedicated team to that work, you're managing that work, but the team is not dedicated.
So in a nutshell, we can say they are not accomplishing their sprint goal.
There's no sprints in Kanban.
I mean, in the Scrum team not accomplishing its sprint goal, is that a reason to?
Yeah, because if we keep doing sprints and everybody is not available to get the job done because they are on another project, they are doing something else, and you're not achieving all your goals, what's the point of doing the sprint? No point, right? You can as well do Kanban, right? No meetings, no prescribed meetings. You put the work in the backlog, they pick the work and do it. There is no one forcing them to get the job done, because if there is a stakeholder that need that work urgently, they will get team members that are committed. They will pay for it to make sure that they have committed team members on the project.
Okay, thank you very much.
When you working, you know that this is not a Scrum team. Sometimes people want to force to do Scrum, but you realize that you call people for Scrum, but they are not available. They have a lot of things they are doing. They have they are managing different things, 7 things. They are not even dedicated. It's not like a team, right? You're calling different people to come and do stuff. That's not a Scrum team, right? So in that scenario, you know Kanban, operational stuff. You think Kanban. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Any other question? Okay. So we've been talking about what happened within the sprint. So this is just telling you some of the things you expect to see a Scrum Master do. We've been saying it already, right? So this is like the roles, what you expect a Scrum Master to do. I have a documentation of this, and I'm going to give it to you by the time we finish, the Scrum class. I'm going to give you all this, right? So you can keep looking at it and keep using it while you're working, right? So as the Scrum Master, you are expected to protect your team against distractions, right? Protect against overwork and burnout. How do you do that? You make sure that no work is added to that sprint work. They focus on that sprint work, right? You prevent complacency. Sometimes you are looking at the team, they'll be telling you 5 story point, 8 story point, but you know that based on past experience, you know that should not be. You are monitoring them so that they are not just trying to, they are not just being complacent. They don't want to get the work done. Don't let me say they don't want to get the work done. They are being lazy. They are just, trying to waste time. That's your role as the Scrum Master, to make sure to prevent all that, because you own that Scrum framework. You are the master of that process, and you are the one responsible to educate the team, the PO. Somebody was saying one day that, my product owner does not know how to use Jira. It's your responsibility to teach. If you don't know it, it's your responsibility to get someone to teach the Scrum Master, the product owner, how to use the Jira board, the tools, right? You help, you try to remove impediments, right? So you keep helping your team to get the best out of Scrum, right? Every impediment that they have, like there was a day, one of my team members was telling me, I've been talking to the data lake team, but they keep, telling me this, they keep telling me that. I took it over. I'm like, okay, don't worry, Riley, I will take that over. Then I started having meetings with the data lake team to resolve that impediment. You help your team to remove those impediments, right? So you want to make sure that your team, because when they have been working together for a long time, you just notice some activities, but it's your role to ensure that you continue to improve them, right? So that they can grow. Have that mindset. You understand the Agile principle. You keep telling them, we want to build a product around motivated people. You want to understand that they are motivated. We have different motivation theories, especially for those that have done PMP. You understand that, anytime I tell Bankole, shout out to Bankole. Bankole helped us with this yesterday. Thank you so much. You realize that Bankole is ready to finish all the work on the board. He's ready to, you understand. So you need to understand that human behaviors. You need to understand the different motivation theory. If you notice that, anytime Charles goes overboard, you know that by the time you tell Charles that, okay, because Charles has worked like 5 days, they've helped the team. He has taken some, he has even done some overtime. You can just say the next day, Charles, you can take some like about 3 hours off. You understand? He will just be, he knows you've motivated him, you've given him some time off. You understand? Sometimes you just, you get some pay and just like money from, your leaders or from your operations and buy them lunch. Let's say let's have a lunch, let's have lunch together. Understand what motivates your team so that you can keep them motivated. You can keep them getting the job done. So that's your role as the Scrum Master. So as the Scrum Master, you have roles to serve the product owner. You are also serving the developer. You are also serving the organization, right? So you are teaching the product owner to ensure that they understand and adhere to the Scrum theory. The product owner can come and say, can we add these 2 stories to this sprint? You, as the Scrum Master, will let this product owner know that no, just put it in the backlog, prioritize it, put it at the top of the backlog so that for the next sprint we can pick it up, right? But if the product owner is being insisted that, oh, we need this done now or something like that, right? You will let them understand that if you do that, it's going to affect the capacity. The team's capacity has already been decided, from the sprint planning. So by the time you teach the product owner several times, they will understand. They will understand, right? So if the product owner does not understand how to do backlog refinement to maximize the value, you will teach them that you need to prioritize your backlog. Which of the stories do we need to do next, right? Prioritize them based on value. Which one will add value, right? So those are the things you want to do. You want to help the developer understand this content. So that's the things you focus on, right? You are helping the product owner, you are helping the developer, you are also helping the organization. When you start helping the organization more, especially if you want to become an agile coach, you start focusing on helping the organization, right? So those are the things the Scrum Master is expected to do, to teach and coach people, right? This is like a checklist, right? In the document I'm going to give you, you will see this checklist, but I'm checking if I have the site. I think I have the site somewhere. I can also send the site to you. It's a checklist, right, that has been put together for a Scrum Master. It was done by Michael James, right? These are the things that you can use. It's about 42 items you can go through, right? So how is my product owner doing? Is the product backlog prioritized according to the latest thinking? So if it's not done, you as the Scrum Master, you know, oh, product owner, we need to prioritize the backlog. Okay, what is the stakeholder seeing? This question, this checklist will help you. So even if you don't know what to do, by the time you look at the checklist, okay, I need to do this. Okay, these things, have we done this? So it's like 42 lists. I'll give you that list. You can go through it. It helps you, to know how to be a better Scrum Master. Okay? These are some of the things you will see there, like coaching the development team, mediate conflict between goals of the development team. Sometimes there will be conflict. How do you resolve conflict, right? You are constantly learning, reading, you are writing blogs. Me, I don't like to write blogs, but what they expect of you is to write blogs, write stories, teach the organization, help them, right? Help them improve the Scrum, the Agile community within your organization, right? Have groups where you are teaching people Scrum. That's what is expected of you, right? And to teach the larger community, write blogs, write stories on Scrum, on Agile. Okay, that's what is expected of a Scrum Master. Just help the team to get to that high performing state. You look at issues, you see blind spots, you reveal it, you ask questions. That's what they expect the Scrum Master to do. So it's not just by facilitating the team, doing all the ceremonies. No, ask questions of the team. Understand what they are doing. When your team starts becoming high performing, then you have more respite. You have time for yourself, right? So, but your responsibility is to coach them till they are high performing. That's what you expect to do as a Scrum Master. So I will send that 42 tasks of a Scrum Master, and you can go through it. Okay. Product owner, you are the one maximizing the value. You are the one ordering the PBIs. The PBI, just product backlog items, all those user stories, all those items in the backlog. You are forecasting. You are saying that, okay, this is the work we're going to be doing next, right? Based on that. So you see, manage the product backlog and its content. Responsibility can be delegated to the development team, such as the BA, right? But the product owner is still accountable. But you can delegate this responsibility to some of the development, especially the BA, because they are very good at writing stories, right? So this is what your role is, right? So what are the things they expect the product owner to be able to do? You are the one setting the vision. You are the one putting the product roadmap together. We did that 2 days ago, the product roadmap, the vision. I said we can use different 3 ways to put the vision together. Vision box, the elevator pitch. Like, these are the things they expect you to be able to do. Prioritization. You respect Scrum, right? These are the things they expect you to be able to do, right? You manage stakeholder. How do you manage stakeholder? You are going back to your stakeholder to say, okay, these are the things you're going to be working on next. Is it okay with you? You are the in between the stakeholder and the development team. That is who you are. And that's why you see a lot of business analysts, when they keep growing within a team, they become a product owner, right? So that is what your expectations are. You optimize the value of the work. There's also a checklist for product owner that can help you to become a very good product owner. It's also part of the document I'm going to give to you, right? Your product vision. The checklist will say, I have a product vision. So you know that if you don't have a product vision, or you get to a team, you are the new product owner and there's no product vision, you know that you need to put a product vision together. You understand? Your stakeholders, I understand the needs of my stakeholders. I understand the needs of my stakeholders, right? You also, there's a checklist for that. Joy, I'm on the previous slides. Do you have any question here?
The one before this, no, I just want to see it for a second. The one before this one, thank you.
Yeah. You're just talking about the roles, what you expect the product owner to be able to do, okay? So these are also some of the things they expect you to be able to do, especially if you are like the chief product owner, okay? So, and I said there's a checklist for that you can use. I'm also going to give you that checklist, right? So this checklist was put together by Lakeman. It will help you. You know, it has all the details, right, of for each event, what you should be doing with your Scrum Master, what you should be doing, right? It says a Scrum Master is appointed. So if you are working on a team and there's no Scrum Master, you can talk to the leader and say, we need a Scrum Master on this team, right? So this checklist will help you to be a better product owner. Development team, what do they expect you to be? They expect you to be self-organizing, to be cross-functional, right? So these are the people that have that skills that are going to get the job done, right? They don't acknowledge roles here, right? So they are the one that work on the backlog. They create the sprint backlog, right? It's collective ownership. They all own that sprint backlog. They are all responsible for it, right? And it's equality. We talked about respect as some of the Scrum values. Respect, they respect each other. And remember that there will still also be shared resources that you will call on sometime, right? They are not part of your Scrum team, but when you need them, you call them, right? In this, the developers there will be team norms. They will have working agreement, right? They should be able to resolve conflict, right? How do you want them to be able to resolve conflict? They will decide how they want to collaborate. Do they want to use SharePoint? Do they want to use Jira? How do they want to be having their meetings? Video conferencing, you know, those are the things they want to do. For the developers, they are natural leaders. That's what they see them as. They are self-organized. When you are in a Scrum team, they expect you to be a natural leader, right? They don't want you to micromanage them. They want you to be like a theory Y, right? They are natural leaders, okay? No title is needed, okay? And remember, what they use to measure their work is the progress of their working software, right? They are making sure it's working. That's what they use to measure, right? And we talk about the Scrum events. We said sprint is the container, and these are the events that we do: the sprint planning, the daily Scrum, the sprint review, and the sprint retrospective, and the backlog refinement. I'm asterisking the backlog refinement because it is not part of the Scrum guide, right? It's not an event in the Scrum guide, but you have to do it. If you don't do it, it's going to affect your sprint. In every sprint, it's going to affect you. So that backlog refinement is important. If you get to most organizations, they do backlog refinement. That's some of the best practices of the organization put together, or the team put together, to ensure that they can help them for their next sprint, right? And it's important. Even the Scrum guy said you should do refinements, right? But they didn't ascribe an event to it, right? So that's why sometimes you see some team, they don't have a time, they do backlog refinement. They can do it this week, they can do it on day 5. Next week, they can do it on day 6. Next week, they can do it on day 7. But they shall make sure they do that refinement before the next sprint. Okay? I also put like a synoptic view together. For each of the ceremony, who do you need? Who should be the participants? For the Scrum planning, sprint planning, you need a Scrum team. What will be your input? You need your product vision, your prioritized product backlog. So because when you are doing your sprint planning, you need your product backlog to be prioritized. You also want to show the completed items. Maybe you want to have a record of what you've already completed, right? You want to understand your past performance. What do you mean by past performance? Your velocity. Maybe we did 40 story points. Maybe we are on sprint 6. We've done 40 story points, 45 story points, like that. So over time, you know that your capacity, your velocity for the team is 45 story points, right? So you know that when you are taking new work from your prioritized backlog, it should not be more than 45 story points, right? You also want to understand your team's capacity. So what your team capacity, how will you determine that? Okay, what holidays do we have? How many days do you have to be able to work this sprint? What is your allocation on this project? I will show you how they calculate all those allocation and capacity. What is your allocation on this project? Then you now understand what the capacity of your team is, right? What is the output when you finish your sprint planning? You should have your sprint backlog, your sprint goal, your team's commitment. Your team's commitment is that this is the work, we're going to get this work done, right? We are committing to getting this work done. Can we get a copy of the synoptic view of, yes, I can give you that. So this is the work you want to get done during this sprint, okay? The daily Scrum is everybody's response to 3 questions. What are the 3 questions? Sometimes I don't even use the 3 questions. I'll just get to the team and say, any impediments, any concerns, any issues, you just ask them. Then why are we doing that? We are aligning so that if there is any issue, we know that, oh, there is an issue we need to take off. We need to go and work on that is going to affect us so that we will not spin in that sprint. How can we quickly resolve it? And why are you doing the daily Scrum? For transparency, for inspection, okay? And it should be done within 15 minutes. It's not a thing where you'll be doing troubleshooting. That is not the reason why you should be doing that. Any blockers, those are the things you want to be, the kind of questions you want to be discussing in that 15 minutes, okay? Backlog refinement, you see that as required, right? It's not a prescribed ceremony, but it is required, right? The PO will present the items for the next sprint, and the development team will now evaluate, is this something we can work on? What are the dependencies? Because of the dependency, we can't work on this in the next sprint. So everyone will understand what the plan for the next sprint will be. What are the items we'll be working on for the next sprint? Then for the sprint review, you have the Scrum team and the stakeholders. All the right stakeholders will be part of that meeting, right? The working product, right? You demonstrate it, you do a demo, then you get feedback from the stakeholder, right? And you also get possible input for the next sprint. Okay, those are the things you discuss in the sprint review. Then in the sprint retrospective, we are talking about how you did your work, the process you used to achieve your work, right? How did you do it, okay? So those are the things you'll be discussing in your sprint retrospective, okay? How much time do you recommend? I don't do any meeting that's more than 1 hour. Nobody's listening anymore. Nobody's listening. If you do any meeting more than 1 hour, nobody's listening. I've done refinement that will take us 2 hours, but we will not do the 2 hours at a time. We'll do 1 hour. Then if we don't finish with another day, 1 hour, as long as we're doing it before the next sprint planning, okay? Because if you start doing more than 1 hour meeting, you lose out people. You just realize they're not listening to you anymore, okay? This is just another, these are the ceremonies, right? What happens in sprint planning? You set the goal, what you want to do that sprint. You create the sprint backlog. The Scrum Master will start the sprint. Yes, especially the fact that you are virtual. Oh my God, people will just be doing something else. Because by the time you ask a question, they'll say, repeat yourself. What did you just say? You just know that people are not listening. Developers in the team identify the priority, what they want to do for that sprint. And this has been identified by the product owner. They will estimate the user story by assigning points. That's what they do in sprint planning. In daily Scrum, 15 minutes, right? The same place, same time. You don't do daily Scrum 9 o'clock today. Tomorrow you are doing it at 11:30. No, same time every day. Same time every day. Everyone knows that it's that time, right? Then at the end of the sprint, you do your review. Then you demo, right? The product owner can present. Some product owner will just take a Scrum Master presents, right? And they will now focus on doing the demo. The sponsors will attend, right? This product owner will give you the list of people you should invite to the meeting. You must have an agenda, okay? Then the retrospective, what went well, right? What are the things we need to improve, right? What will we commit to improve in the next sprint? Those are the things you want to focus on, okay? So that's what actually happens, right? Why did they say that a sprint should not be more than 10 people? Because the more people you put on the sprint, the more relationship you need to build within the people. You know, in project management, they said that for you to calculate the number of communications you need to have with people, it's going to be n into n minus 1 divided by 2. What does that mean? If you have 15 people, so it will be 15 into 15 minus 1 divided by 2. That's the number of communication channels you need to have. Okay? So they want a team that is together, right? So if you're having more than 10, it will now be a lot of relationships you need to start managing within the team. Okay? So this is what is expected, okay? It's 9 o'clock, so we're going to stop here and we're going to continue tomorrow. So what I have left is just to tell you, you know, it's going to be fast. You understand it already. So I'm just going to be telling you the Scrum team, right? The duration, frequency, we already know that is once per sprint, right? Because I've showed you that table, that 10 days, right? What are the inputs, right? What are the topics you need to discuss? It's also in the booklet I'm going to give. Okay, so these are the things we'll discuss tomorrow. We'll talk about user stories. We'll talk about estimations. Then we'll talk about the different collaboration tools and definition of done, definition of ready, the different type of sprint retrospectives and all that. Then I'll give you like something like an initiative. Then from Monday, we'll start doing simulations. Okay, so we'll stop here for today. Any question?
Quick question, Florence.
Yeah.
The materials you promised to give us, is it going to be via email? I'm just not sure how it's going to be.
I'll pass it to Ima. I think Ima will share it with everyone. Okay? Is that fair?
Yeah, I'm not sure who Ima is, but I'm sure that.
But you will get it. If not, I'll share it myself. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, no problem. Nkiruka, do you have a question?
No, sorry.
Okay. Any other question? Great. Okay, so I hope you understand. If you need to review, you can watch the video again. If you have any questions, bring them tomorrow. Thank you, Temi, for all your inputs. Temi she's now a guru in this, okay? Don't Temi, she's now Scrum she's even writing blogs on Scrums now. So thank you so much, Timmy, for all your inputs. And I want to say something again. There are a lot of groups on Clubhouse that you can join that they also talk about Scrum every day. There are a lot of opportunities. So if you're on Clubhouse, look for groups to join. If you find me there, look for some of the groups I'm in and you also join those groups, okay? So it will help you a lot. Just be in that environment when they have those discussions, it helps you to improve and get better with it as well, okay? So tomorrow we continue, we complete this and we go straight into simulation. And I'm sure that with simulation, it will also get better as well, okay? Have a lovely night and speak tomorrow, okay?
Thanks, Florence. Thanks, everybody.
Right.
Have a good night.
Thank you so much, Florence.
Good night.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
You too.
And you too.
Thank you, Florence. Bye-bye.
Bye.